Think and grow strong. Napoleon Hill's Unbreakable Mindset Secret. If your entire life could change by mastering one thing, your mental attitude, would you finally pay attention? Napoleon Hill said your mindset is either your greatest asset or your worst liability. In this video, we'll show you how to build a positive mental attitude so strong, nothing in life can break it. Part 1. The power behind a positive mental attitude, PMA. In the philosophy of Napoleon Hill, positive mental attitude, PMA, is not a feel-good slogan. It's the very foundation of personal transformation. Hill believed that every person holds within them the capacity to shape their external world by mastering their internal world. And at the core of that mastery lies your mental attitude. So what exactly is PMA? It's not blind optimism or delusional thinking. It's not pretending everything is okay when it's not. PMA is the decision to respond to life with purpose, direction, and unwavering self-discipline regardless of the circumstances. It is the refusal to allow adversity, rejection, failure, or setbacks to dictate your worth, your energy, or your future. According to Napoleon Hill, PMA is the right mental attitude in all circumstances. Without exception, that means you are not swayed by temporary emotions, criticism, or external challenges. It means that your inner compass remains aligned with your goals, your values, and your unwavering belief in your ability to succeed. Your thoughts create your reality. Hill taught that your mind is the most powerful tool you possess, and like any tool, it must be used consciously. Every thought you think sends out a vibrational frequency that draws people, circumstances, and events back into your life that match it. This is not abstract mysticism, it's the mental law of cause and effect. What you dwell on, you begin to act upon, and what you act upon, you manifest. If you think in terms of limitation, fear, lack, or resentment, you begin creating that in your physical experience. You speak differently, act differently, and make choices that confirm your beliefs. That's why PMA is not simply about thinking positive, but about becoming aligned with the kind of energy that brings results. A negative mental attitude, NMA, breeds excuses. It rationalizes failure. It attracts other negative people. PMA, by contrast, doesn't deny difficulty, but it sees through it. It asks, what's possible from here? Instead of, why is this happening to me? The mind is a magnet. Napoleon Hill emphasized that your mind is like a magnet, it attracts what it's tuned into. If you consistently broadcast fear, doubt, or anger, you attract situations and people that reflect those very same vibrations. But when you operate with enthusiasm, faith, initiative, and courage, you draw opportunities and partnerships that move you forward. This principle explains why two people with the same resources, talent, and even background can experience completely different outcomes. One sees limitation, the other sees potential. One reacts, the other creates. PMA shifts you from reactive mode to creative mode. Hill said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But what he didn't mean is that belief alone is enough. It must be paired with a mental attitude that fuels relentless action. The belief fuels your being, and from that, all results are born. The difference between victim and victor. At its core, PMA is a choice between two identities, victim or victor. Life throws chaos, setbacks, and pain at everyone. But what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck is not talent, money, or connections. It's mental attitude. A person with PMA doesn't ask, why me? They ask, what's next? They don't wait for the perfect moment to begin. They create the moment. They don't collapse in fear when plans fall apart. They pivot and persist. PMA makes you unbreakable, not because nothing hurts you, but because nothing owns you. You take full responsibility for your direction in life, and you refuse to blame others for your outcomes. That level of ownership is what Hill called accurate thinking, seeing things as they are, but believing in your ability to influence what comes next. Emotion is fuel, not a roadblock. One of the biggest misconceptions about PMA is that it requires emotional suppression. On the contrary, Napoleon Hill taught that emotions are powerful tools when directed properly. Anger, fear, grief, and disappointment can either be the chains that hold you back or the fire that fuels you forward. PMA is not about avoiding negative emotions, it's about transforming them into fuel. It's about using rejection as redirection, failure as feedback, pain as purpose. Hill referenced countless successful men and women who experienced emotional devastation, bankruptcy, betrayal, loss, but turned those events into springboards for massive personal and financial breakthroughs. The only difference, they had the mental attitude that refused to surrender their will to momentary emotion. Self-talk, the voice that shapes your future. Your inner dialogue is the architect of your outer world. PMA begins with what you say to yourself in the silence of your own mind. Do you speak to yourself with hope or despair? Encouragement or shame? Conviction or doubt? Napoleon Hill argued that no enemy outside you can defeat you unless the enemy inside you surrenders. If your self-talk is poisoned with regret, fear, or inferiority, no external success can ever compensate. That's why building PMA requires radical self-awareness. It means paying attention to how you think, interrupting thought patterns that sabotage your goals, and replacing them with language that affirms your strength, vision, and mission. PMA is a muscle, not a mood. Too many people treat positivity as a fleeting emotion, waiting for motivation to appear before taking action. Hill completely rejected that mindset. He saw PMA as a muscle that must be trained, built, and maintained, especially when life gets hard. You don't wait to feel good. You train yourself to think right, even when everything feels wrong. You build mental discipline. You practice gratitude. You focus on what you can control. You surround yourself with books, people, and environments that elevate your mindset. This is what makes a mental attitude unbreakable. It's not conditional on circumstances. It's not dependent on luck. It's forged in daily habits, routines, and choices that align you with faith, courage, and resilience. Faith is the foundation of PMA. Napoleon Hill made it clear that PMA is inseparable from faith, not necessarily religious faith, but a deep belief in something greater than your current condition. Faith in your ability to learn. Faith in the unseen forces working in your favor. Faith in the laws of growth, cause and effect, and personal transformation. Without faith, positivity becomes surface level, performative, and easily crushed by difficulty. But when rooted in faith, PMA becomes immovable. You may still feel afraid, but you move forward anyway. That's the power of belief. It sustains you when evidence doesn't. Hill believed faith was the eternal elixir that gives life purpose and power. And your attitude, how you show up to life every day, is the expression of that faith. Responsibility, the fuel of a positive attitude. Lastly, Napoleon Hill tied PMA to the one thing most people avoid: responsibility. You cannot hold a truly positive mental attitude if you believe life happens to you. PMA requires the full acceptance that you are the creator of your reality, the master of your decisions, and the only one accountable for your progress. It's easy to blame others, circumstances, or bad luck, but every time you give away responsibility, you give away power. Hill believed that those who reclaim full responsibility over their minds, their choices, and their emotions unlock an almost supernatural level of self-determination. Part 2, your mind is a garden. What are you planting? Napoleon Hill often used metaphors to communicate timeless truths, and one of his most powerful was this: your mind is a garden. In that garden, your thoughts are the seeds, and the results you experience in life, your success, failure, health, relationships, and wealth are simply the harvest. What you plant consistently, whether consciously or unconsciously, will grow. This idea is not just poetic, it's brutally practical. You don't get to escape the consequences of what you mentally cultivate. You are either planting seeds of courage, discipline, and belief, or you're planting seeds of fear, doubt, and procrastination. The soil doesn't judge. It simply returns what you sow. You are always planting something. Whether you're aware of it or not, you are constantly feeding your mind. Every podcast you listen to, every post you read, every conversation you engage in, and every thought you rehearse, these are the seeds. The question is, are you planting what you want to grow, or are you letting weeds take over by default? Napoleon Hill warned against drifting, living without conscious mental direction. When you drift, your mind is vulnerable to external programming, fear-based news, cynical people, toxic media, and your own past failures. These forces become the weeds that choke your potential. To develop an unbreakable, positive mental attitude, you must become intentional with your mental garden. You must decide every single day what goes in, because what goes in inevitably comes out in your choices, your language, your relationships, and your outcomes. What you feed will grow, what you starve will die. This is a universal principle. Whatever you give attention to will expand. When you dwell on setbacks, you reinforce them. When you replay past embarrassments, you relive them. But when you focus on solutions, on gratitude, on growth, you activate new circuits in the brain that support your success. Napoleon Hill taught that consistent repetition of empowered thoughts creates belief. Belief becomes expectation. Expectation fuels behavior. Behavior becomes habit, and habits shape destiny. The origin of it all. The seed of a single thought. Here's the problem: most people spend their days unconsciously feeding their fears. They rehearse what could go wrong instead of what could go right. They talk more about what they lack than what they're building. They compare instead of create. That's mental malnutrition. If you want an indestructible mental attitude, you have to cut off the food supply to thoughts that no longer serve you. Daily cultivation, not occasional inspiration. You cannot develop a powerful mindset with one motivational quote a week. You can't build inner strength by watching a video once and expecting permanent change. Just as no garden grows with one day of sunshine, your mind needs daily light, watering, and pruning. Napoleon Hill emphasized the importance of mental diet, a steady stream of uplifting, empowering, forward-moving thoughts. He advised reading uplifting material daily, listening to recordings of your own goals, reciting affirmations, visualizing your desired life, and spending time with people who challenge you to grow. This isn't optional. It's maintenance. It's psychological hygiene. You clean your body every day, right? Then why wouldn't you clean your mind? Negative influences are weeds. Pull them out ruthlessly. Weeds don't need permission to grow. They just need neglect. Leave your mind unattended, and soon it's full of limiting beliefs, doubts, envy, and fear. That's why Hill believed in ruthless mental discipline. Every time you catch a thought that disempowers you, challenge it. Ask, is this helping me or hurting me? Is this thought aligned with my goals or my fears? If it's a weed, pull it. Don't water it with your attention. Don't entertain it for hours. Cut it off, replace it, and refocus. This applies not just to thoughts, but people and environments as well. You can't grow flowers if you're surrounded by rot. Hill warned that negative people, complainers, doubters, critics, are mental parasites. They feed off your energy and leave you with confusion, apathy, or fear. You must guard your inner world with intensity. The law of mental fertility. Here's the reality Hill uncovered after years of interviewing high achievers. Your mind is more fertile than you realize. It responds quickly to direction and consistency. That means even if you've been thinking negatively for years, the moment you begin replanting different thoughts with enough emotional intensity and persistence, you initiate change. Hill referenced this often. You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, because you have the power to control your thoughts. The mind doesn't care what it grows. It will grow weeds or roses, depending on what you plant. The only variable is your willpower, your focus, and your repetition. Guarding the gate of the mind. Hill used the term inner gatekeeper, an image that represents your conscious control over what enters your mental space. You can't always control external circumstances, but you always control the meaning you assign to them. That meaning is the seed. A delay is just a delay until you label it failure. A challenge is just an event until you label it, I'm not good enough. A mistake is just feedback until you label it, I'll never succeed. You must train your gatekeeper to ask, what's the empowering interpretation here? What lesson is this giving me? How can I turn this into growth? That's how you rewire your mind from sabotage to success. Your mental garden shapes your identity. The most important harvest from your mental garden is not just results, but identity. Who you believe you are is the direct result of the thoughts you've planted repeatedly. If you've rehearsed thoughts like, I'm not good with money, I always mess things up, I don't have what it takes, those thoughts have taken root, and they produce the emotional and behavioral fruit that holds you back: self-doubt, inaction, procrastination. To shift your identity, you must change the seeds. Begin to plant new ones, even if they feel fake at first. Say, I am becoming more disciplined every day. I attract the right opportunities and prepare for them. I am capable of achieving meaningful success. The repetition of these thoughts changes how you see yourself. And how you see yourself determines what you tolerate, what you pursue, and how you respond under pressure. The garden doesn't lie. At the end of the day, the results in your life don't lie. They are the harvest. If your life feels out of alignment, if you're stuck, frustrated, or overwhelmed, it's not because the world is broken. It's because the garden has been left unattended. But here's the good news: you can start planting something new today. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need anyone's permission. You need a decision to think differently, act deliberately, and commit daily. As Hill often reminded readers, success comes to those who become success conscious. The garden of your mind must be cultivated with purpose, intention, and passion. If you plant the right seeds, protect them fiercely, and nourish them consistently, the harvest will take care of itself. Part 3. Definiteness of purpose, the anchor of PMA. Napoleon Hill didn't just preach positive thinking for the sake of feeling good. He knew that without definiteness of purpose, a positive mental attitude, PMA, would drift into wishful thinking, shallow, vague, and eventually ineffective. PMA, no matter how powerful, must be anchored to something real. That anchor is your definite, burning purpose. Without a clear direction, even the most positive person becomes lost. But when your thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned with a clear purpose, you become unstoppable. This alignment creates internal certainty, which breeds confidence, action, and endurance. What is definiteness of purpose? Hill defined it simply: a clear, written, emotionally charged goal that becomes the central focus of your life. It is the one aim you are willing to sacrifice for, to work toward with single-minded determination. It is the why behind your mindset, your habits, your decisions, and your discipline, and he called it the starting point of all achievement, and without it, nothing significant happens. Definiteness of purpose gives shape to your PMA. It turns abstract optimism into targeted energy. Instead of just hoping things will get better, you begin asking, what must I do today to move toward my goal? Your mental attitude shifts from passive to active, from reactive to intentional. Why most people don't have it? Here's the truth: most people don't have a definite purpose because they've never been taught to think that way. School teaches us to memorize and obey, not to dream boldly and design a vision. Society rewards conformity, not clarity. That's why many adults wander through life, working jobs they hate, following routines they didn't choose, pursuing goals that aren't even theirs. Napoleon Hill saw this in the hundreds of individuals he studied. The difference between those who succeeded and those who stagnated was not education, talent, or luck, it was purpose. Successful people decided early on what they wanted, and they organized their entire lives around it. How purpose powers PMA. When you're grounded in purpose, you naturally develop mental toughness. Why? Because now your pain has meaning. Your struggles become stepping stones instead of roadblocks. When you know why you're doing something, you're more likely to endure discomfort, delay gratification, and keep going when others quit. PMA, in this context, becomes a tool for sustaining momentum during uncertainty. You don't need everything to go right. You just need a vision worth fighting for. Let's say your definite purpose is to build a business that gives your family financial freedom. Every rejection, failure, or delay is no longer seen as defeat. It's training, it's learning, it's part of the process. Your mental attitude remains positive because you know where you're going. Without purpose, setbacks feel personal, delays feel permanent, struggles feel meaningless, and in that mindset, even small problems destroy progress. Purpose reduces mental noise. One overlooked benefit of purpose is mental clarity. When you're chasing everything, your energy is divided. But when you're aligned with a single burning desire, distractions fall away. You no longer waste time asking, "Should I do this?" You simply ask, "Does this move me toward my goal or away from it?" That filter reduces anxiety, doubt, and indecision. PMA thrives in this environment. When your thoughts are no longer scattered, you conserve emotional energy. You begin each day with a sense of direction. You go to sleep knowing your time was used with intention. That emotional alignment is a form of inner peace, and peace is power. The burning desire formula. Hill emphasized that purpose without passion is weak. That's why he introduced the idea of burning desire, not casual interest, not lukewarm ambition, but an intense, almost obsessive desire to achieve a specific outcome. He laid out a simple formula to activate this kind of desire. 1. Decide exactly what you want. Be specific. General goals lead to general results. 2. Determine what you're willing to give in return. There is no something for nothing. 3. Set a definite date to achieve it. Deadlines create urgency. 4. Create a clear, written plan. Even if imperfect, a plan gives direction. Write a clear statement of your goal. Include the what, when, and how. 6. Read your goal aloud twice daily with emotion. This programs the subconscious. When you follow this process, your mind becomes emotionally attached to your goal. And that emotional attachment is the fuel behind every positive thought, every courageous action, and every daily discipline. Your purpose must be bigger than your obstacles. Life will test you. It will present detours, delays, disappointments, and distractions. Without a definite purpose, you will be easily thrown off course. But when your why is bigger than your what-ifs, nothing can stop you for long. Hill told stories of men who endured years of hardship, bankruptcy, betrayal, physical illness, but eventually triumphed because they never abandoned their purpose. Their mental attitude stayed strong, not because life was easy, but because they believed the fight was worth it. So, ask yourself, what am I willing to endure discomfort for? What is the mission I would still pursue, even if no one clapped for me? What is the result that, if achieved, would make all the struggle worth it? When you find that answer, you've found your purpose, and with it, you've found the source of unbreakable PMA. Purpose turns discipline into devotion. It's hard to stay disciplined when your actions feel hollow, but when every action is connected to your larger vision, discipline becomes a form of devotion. You wake up early because it serves the mission. You study longer because it fuels the dream. You say no to distractions, not because you're rigid, but because your yes is reserved for something greater. PMA doesn't require you to enjoy every moment. It requires you to remember that every moment is part of something bigger. That remembrance creates emotional strength. It gives you the ability to stay calm under pressure, inspired under fatigue, and grateful in uncertainty. Purpose shapes your identity. Ultimately, your definite purpose becomes a part of your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to succeed. You see yourself as someone who is becoming success. Your mindset, your speech, your presence. They all shift to match the vision you carry. Hill believed that when your identity is aligned with your purpose, everything changes. People sense your confidence. Opportunities begin to find you. Setbacks lose their sting. You stop wondering whether you'll make it and start focusing on how you'll make it happen. Closing the loop. So, why is definiteness of purpose the anchor of positive mental attitude? Because it provides direction, depth, and durability. It transforms PMA from a temporary mood into a permanent state of mind. It gives you something worth enduring for, something to fight for, something to wake up for. And once you're living from purpose, PMA becomes your default, not because life is perfect, but because your vision is powerful. Part 4, Daily Autosuggestion, Programming Your Mind for Victory. Napoleon Hill believed that no tool was more powerful for shaping your destiny than autosuggestion, the act of deliberately feeding your subconscious mind with thoughts, emotions, and commands that align with your desired outcome. To Hill, autosuggestion was not just a mental exercise, it was a spiritual act of self-creation. If definiteness of purpose is your map, autosuggestion is the fuel that keeps you moving forward. It's the bridge between what you consciously want and what your subconscious believes. And unless you get your subconscious on board, no goal, no strategy, and no dream will ever come to life. What is autosuggestion? Autosuggestion is the intentional repetition of thoughts, especially spoken and written affirmations, that gradually imprint themselves on your subconscious mind. Over time, these repeated suggestions become beliefs, and those beliefs drive your decisions, habits, and identity. Hill explained it this way. Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. This means your mind is always being programmed either by external influences, social media, fears, critics, news, past trauma, or by your own will. Autosuggestion is how you take back control. Why you must reprogram your subconscious. The truth is, most people are walking around with a subconscious full of limiting beliefs, planted through years of repetition. I'm not good enough. I always fail. Money is evil. I'll never be happy. These thoughts were not chosen, they were inherited, absorbed, or forced through trauma. And unless they are overwritten with conscious intent, they'll keep running your life. Autosuggestion is how you install new programming into your internal operating system. It allows you to replace limiting beliefs with empowering convictions, beliefs that align with your definite purpose and support your positive mental attitude. The formula for effective autosuggestion. Hill didn't just tell you what to do, he told you how. His formula for autosuggestion is simple, but incredibly powerful when practiced daily. 1. Write down your definite purpose. Be specific. Include the result you desire, what you'll give in return, and a clear deadline. 2. Convert it into a short, present tense statement. Example, I am earning $100,000 a year by December 31st through my graphic design business, and I serve my clients with excellence and creativity. 3. Read it aloud twice a day, morning and night. This is key. Reading out loud forces your conscious mind to engage and your subconscious to listen. 4. Say it with emotion. Your subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to emotionally charged repetition. If you don't feel it, you won't absorb it. 5. Visualize as you say it. Imagine it vividly. See the results. Feel the feelings. Hear the sounds. The clearer the mental picture, the more magnetic your mind becomes. Why emotion is the secret ingredient? This is where most people get it wrong. They repeat affirmations without emotion, without belief, without intensity. That's not autosuggestion, that's wishful thinking. Napoleon Hill stressed, plain, unemotional words do not influence the subconscious mind. You must bring your entire emotional being into the process. Convince yourself. Speak as if it's already happening. Feel the gratitude, the pride, the victory as if it's real. Because to your subconscious, the line between imagined and real is blurry. And that's exactly what makes autosuggestion so powerful. Repetition builds belief. You might not believe your statement the first 10 or 20 times. That's okay. Keep going. The goal is not to convince your conscious mind. The goal is to recondition your subconscious through constant exposure. This takes time, it takes faith, but it works. Hill compared it to planting a seed. You don't see results immediately, but every repetition waters the seed. Eventually, belief begins to sprout, action follows, confidence grows, and the life you once imagined starts to become real. Autosuggestion is not magic, it's mental engineering. It's important to understand that autosuggestion doesn't work like magic. It won't deliver results if it's not backed by action, but what it does do is create the internal momentum that fuels external execution. When your mind is saturated with positive expectations, clear visions, and confident self-talk, you act differently, you take more risks, you show up stronger, you persist longer, and that changes everything. You begin to recognize opportunities you would have ignored. You stop self-sabotaging when things go well. You develop resilience in the face of failure. In short, you become the person capable of achieving what you've declared. Reinforcing PMA through daily programming. Positive mental attitude is not a one-time decision. It's a daily conditioning process. Life is constantly throwing curveballs. If you don't intentionally recenter your mind each morning and realign it each night, you'll drift. Hill recommended a mental ritual. Start your day with your affirmation and visualization. Reflect on your progress from yesterday. Reaffirm your purpose and review your plan. End your day the same way. Remind yourself that you are in control, that tomorrow is an opportunity, and that you are moving forward no matter what. This simple practice creates emotional stability. It calms fear. It strengthens faith. It makes PMA your default operating mode. What you say to yourself matters more than anything. You can have all the talent, all the education, all the strategy in the world, but if your inner voice is filled with doubt, fear, and self-criticism, you will unconsciously sabotage your progress. Autosuggestion is how you take control of that voice. It's how you train it to become your greatest ally, not your biggest obstacle. Speak to yourself like a winner. Talk to yourself with respect. Instruct your subconscious with clarity and conviction. Over time, you will notice something strange and beautiful. You actually start to believe it. And when belief takes root, results follow. The inner shift that changes everything. Perhaps the most powerful outcome of autosuggestion is not the goals you achieve, but the person you become. As your internal dialogue shifts, so does your identity. You stop seeing yourself as a struggler. You begin seeing yourself as a builder, a creator, a leader, someone who gets up when life knocks you down and keeps moving with power and purpose. Napoleon Hill didn't teach wishful thinking. He taught mental mastery. Autosuggestion is how you take back the pen and rewrite your story from the inside out. Part 5. Mastering the inner dialogue, controlling the silent voice. One of Napoleon Hill's most enduring lessons is that your inner world creates your outer world. And at the center of your inner world is the voice no one hears, but you, your inner dialogue. This silent voice narrates your life. It comments on your failures. It questions your worth. It warns you against taking risks. Or, when trained, it encourages, affirms, and strengthens you. Hill believed that controlling this inner conversation was essential for developing an unbreakable positive mental attitude PMA. Without mastery over your internal dialogue, even the best mindset strategies will fall apart, because no matter how much you learn, you still have to live with yourself, your thoughts, your doubts, your self-talk. The inner critic versus the inner coach. Inside your mind, there are two voices constantly speaking. One is the inner critic, negative, fearful, and self-sabotaging. The other is the inner coach, empowering, focused, and growth-oriented. Hill didn't use these exact terms, but he described the same dynamic. The critic is shaped by past trauma, external judgment, and societal conditioning. It thrives on fear. The coach, however, is created by conscious design. It's the voice of purpose, clarity, and belief. The problem? Most people are more familiar with the critic than the coach. They've rehearsed criticism so many times. It has become their inner truth, even if it's a lie. The thoughts you don't challenge become your reality. Hill taught that your subconscious mind accepts any thought you allow to repeat. If you keep saying, "I'm not smart enough," your subconscious accepts it. If you rehearse thoughts like, "I always fail," they become part of your identity. This is why controlling your inner dialogue is not optional. It's survival, because whatever you don't challenge, you reinforce. Ask yourself, what am I rehearsing mentally every day? Is my self-talk building strength or stealing it? Would I speak to someone I love the way I speak to myself? If the answer is no, it's time to upgrade your inner language. Awareness is the first step. You can't change what you don't recognize. That's why the first step in mastering your inner dialogue is awareness. Hill encouraged his readers to observe their thoughts objectively. Just watch, listen, become aware of how often you criticize yourself, second-guess your abilities, or anticipate failure. You don't have to judge it, just notice. You might be shocked at how often your inner voice says things like, "Why even try? This won't work out. You always screw things up." These thoughts feel automatic, but they're just habits that can be broken and rewritten. Interrupt and replace the Hill method. Once you become aware of negative self-talk, the next step is to interrupt and replace it. This is where Hill's teachings intersect with modern neuroscience. The brain can be rewired, but only through consistent pattern interruption and intentional substitution. Here's a simple process to apply. 1. Catch the thought, "I'm not good enough." 2. Interrupt it, "That's not helping me." 3. Replace it, "I'm growing stronger every day." This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about choosing a more useful narrative, one that supports your purpose instead of sabotaging it. Name the voice to detach from it. A powerful technique for managing negative inner dialogue is to give your inner critic a name. Why? Because it creates psychological distance between you and the thought. Call it Doubt Dan, Fearful Frank, or Negative Nancy, whatever feels right. When a disempowering thought arises, you can say, "Oh, that's just Fearful Frank again." You reduce its emotional power. You see it as a script, not your truth. This strategy helps you step out of the loop of self-judgment and into the position of mental authority. Your self-talk becomes your identity. Hill taught that your repeated inner language doesn't just shape your behavior, it shapes your sense of self. Say, "I'm lazy enough times," and you start acting that way. Say, "I'm disciplined enough times," and you start behaving differently even before you fully believe it. The subconscious responds to identity statements. That's why you must frame your inner dialogue around who you are becoming, not who you've been. Instead of, "I'm so disorganized," "I'm training myself to be more focused and structured every day." Instead of, "I always mess up," "I learn quickly, and every mistake makes me stronger." This subtle shift rewires the emotional framework of your thoughts. Language creates emotion, emotion drives action. Napoleon Hill emphasized that emotion is the gateway to the subconscious, and your language shapes emotion. Think about it when you say, "This is a disaster." Your body reacts with stress, but if you say, "This is a challenge I've overcome worse," your body calms, your perception changes. So does your energy. That's why mastering your inner dialogue isn't just mental, it's emotional. When your inner voice speaks with strength, your emotional state follows, and that state fuels powerful action. Create a self-talk script for your mission. Hill recommended writing out personal affirmations, not only for autosuggestion, but also to reshape your identity and inner voice. You can create a self-talk script that reinforces who you are, what you value, and where you're going. Example script read daily or when under stress. "I am focused, disciplined, and growing stronger every day. I overcome challenges with courage. I learn from failure. I am capable, worthy, and prepared for the next level of success. I protect my mind from fear and surround myself with powerful thoughts. This type of self-talk isn't fluff. It's strategic. It's mental preparation. It's armor. And over time, it becomes your natural way of thinking. Who you talk to the most is you. Hill famously said, "You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul." And that mastery begins with mastering the voice within. Think about it, you are with yourself 247, every waking hour, every moment of self-doubt, frustration, or inspiration, you are there. So the quality of your inner conversation is not just a productivity hack. It's the difference between growth and stagnation, between confidence and hesitation, between breakthrough and breakdown. You must choose to become your greatest ally, not your worst enemy. Your internal voice must speak in alignment with your goals, not in echo of your fears. The shift that changes everything. Mastering your inner dialogue isn't about perfection. It's about progressive awareness and intentional redirection. You won't silence the inner critic overnight, but you can train your inner coach to speak louder, stronger, and with more conviction. When you do, something incredible happens. You recover faster from failure. You take bolder action. You stop second-guessing your worth. You start living with authority over your own mind. That's not just positive mental attitude. That's mental sovereignty. Part 6, the 7 enemies of PMA and how to destroy them. Napoleon Hill was a firm believer that positive mental attitude PMA isn't just something you build, it's something you protect. In every mind, there are destructive forces working quietly, constantly, and sometimes invisibly to pull you away from clarity, courage, and confidence. In Hill's lifetime study of successful and unsuccessful people, he identified 7 mental enemies, unseen destroyers of potential, that silently sabotage PMA. If not confronted, they slowly erode your ability to think positively, act decisively, and believe deeply in your purpose. This part isn't just about naming those enemies, it's about exposing them, confronting them, and giving you the tools to crush them before they crush you. Enemy 1, fear. Fear is the root of all hesitation. It's the invisible force that stops you from starting, keeps you playing small, and convinces you to avoid risks. Hill believed there were 6 basic fears: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. But in essence, all of them boil down to this: the fear that you're not enough and the future won't work out. Fear paralyzes action, and without action, PMA has no outlet. To destroy it, name your fear. You can't fight what you won't face. Expose it to logic. Ask, is this fear based in fact or imagination? Take action anyway. Fear fades in motion. It feeds on hesitation. Enemy 2, doubt. Doubt is the whisper that says, what if you can't? It plants uncertainty in your goals, your abilities, your decisions, and if left unchallenged, it morphs into procrastination and paralysis. Doubt doesn't destroy in a single blow. It erodes your belief molecule by molecule until your positive mental attitude becomes a shell of motivational quotes with no soul behind them. To destroy it, build evidence. Keep a victory log of daily wins, even small ones. Counter with affirmations. Repeat, I am capable. I am prepared. I can learn whatever I need to succeed. Replace questions with decisions. Don't ask if, ask how. Enemy 3, worry. Worry is misuse of imagination. It's the mental habit of rehearsing the worst instead of planning for the best. Hill called worry a form of sustained fear, and it's one of the most common killers of PMA. Worry drains your emotional energy, clouds your thinking, and makes small problems feel catastrophic. It creates inertia when what you need is momentum. To destroy it, ask, can I control this? If yes, act. If no, release it. Use worst-case planning. Write out the worst-case scenario and how you'd handle it. This neutralizes its emotional grip. Set a worry timer. Give yourself 10 minutes to worry, then move on to action. Enemy 4, indecision. PMA requires momentum, and nothing kills momentum faster than indecision. Hill believed that successful people made decisions quickly and changed them slowly. Unsuccessful people did the opposite. Indecision creates anxiety. It makes you loop in endless mental circles. It's the spiritual equivalent of standing still while the world moves around you. To destroy it, set decision deadlines. Limit overthinking by creating cutoff points. Trust your instincts. Your gut is more informed than you think. Accept that no choice is perfect. Progress beats perfection every time. Enemy 5, procrastination. This is the enemy that disguises itself as later. Hill called procrastination the assassin of opportunity. You know what to do. You even want to do it. But you keep pushing it forward until the window of action closes, and with it, another piece of self-trust disappears. Procrastination creates guilt, stress, and eventually, self-loathing. It tells you lies like, you'll be more ready tomorrow. But readiness is rarely a feeling, it's a decision. To destroy it, use the 2-minute rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. Break big tasks into tiny, specific steps. Attach action to identity. Say, I'm the kind of person who acts immediately. Enemy 6, envy. Envy is the mental poison that corrodes gratitude. It convinces you that someone else's success diminishes your own. Instead of being inspired, you become resentful. Instead of creating, you compare. Hill believed envy was dangerous because it shifts your focus outward instead of inward. It blinds you to your own gifts and derails your PMA into bitterness. To destroy it, turn envy into curiosity. Ask, what can I learn from this person? Celebrate others' success. Practice public praise to rewire your response. Focus on your lane. You can't build your dream if you're staring at someone else's. Enemy 7, self-pity. Perhaps the most seductive of all the enemies. Self-pity is the mental attitude that says, life is unfair, and I'm a victim. It allows you to avoid responsibility. It gives you a temporary excuse to do nothing. But over time, it hardens into apathy, and you stop even trying to change. Hill was brutal with this one. He said, no man achieves great success who permits himself to become bogged down in self-pity or self-justification. To destroy it, own everything. Even if it's not your fault, it's your responsibility. Rewrite the narrative. Say, this challenge is shaping me into who I need to become. Take micro-action. Even small wins destroy victimhood. The collective impact, a war on your mind. Individually, these enemies are subtle. Together, they're devastating. They strip you of energy, clarity, and hope. They feed off each other. Fear leads to procrastination, which leads to guilt, which leads to self-pity, which leads to more fear. That's why Hill emphasized the daily battle of the mind. You don't just fight these enemies once, you fight them every single day, and the more you win those small battles, the more your PMA strengthens until it becomes unbreakable. How to build a mental defense system. To protect your PMA from these 7 enemies, you must create daily habits that act like psychological armor. Morning mindset rituals. Start your day with affirmations, goals, and gratitude, not the news or your notifications. Mental inventory journaling. Track which enemy tried to show up that day and how you responded. Reinforce identity. Remind yourself who you are and what you stand for, especially when you feel weakest. Surround yourself wisely. Energy is contagious. Associate with people who hold you accountable to your higher self. Hill's message was simple but uncompromising. Guard your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Part 7, surrounding yourself with PMA allies. Napoleon Hill repeatedly emphasized a fundamental truth. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. No matter how powerful your positive mental attitude PMA is, it can only survive and thrive in the right environment. A strong mindset doesn't exist in isolation. It grows within the ecosystem of influence that surrounds it. That's why Hill taught that if you want to sustain an unbreakable PMA, you must intentionally build a circle of allies, people who amplify your belief, challenge your growth, and share your vision. The power of environment on mindset. Think of your mind as a fire. It needs oxygen, encouragement, belief, and inspiration to keep burning. But if you're surrounded by negative people, toxic opinions, and dream killers, that fire dies a slow death. Hill believed environment is more powerful than willpower. You can have the best goals and strongest affirmations, but if the people closest to you are filled with fear, bitterness, or mediocrity, you will unconsciously adopt their mindset. Why eat my team? Because humans are tribal. We absorb energy, language, and behaviors from our surroundings. What feels normal to your group becomes the ceiling of your belief system. If you're surrounded by complainers, you start to complain. If you're surrounded by winners, your standards rise automatically. Identifying your circle of influence. Take a moment and ask, who do I talk to most often? Do they lift me up or pull me down? Do they challenge me or coddle my excuses? Are they examples of the mindset I want or warnings of what I must avoid? Be honest, not everyone in your life deserves a front row seat to your future. Some people are spectators, others are saboteurs, and a few are your PMA allies, the ones who make you think bigger, act bolder, and stay resilient when life hits hard. The mastermind principle. Hill didn't just talk about surrounding yourself with positive people. He created an entire framework around it called the mastermind group. A mastermind is a small, intentional alliance of individuals who meet regularly to support, challenge, and accelerate each other's growth. When two or more minds come together in harmony for a definite purpose, they create a third mind, a mental force greater than the sum of its parts. This group becomes your accountability team, idea incubator, and mental support system. The rules are simple. Everyone must have a goal. Everyone must bring value. Everyone must protect the mindset of the group. If one member begins to spread fear, blame, or negativity, it must be addressed immediately because, in Hill's words, negative minds do not mix well with positive minds. Traits of a PMA ally. Not everyone can walk this path with you, so how do you identify a true PMA ally? Look for these traits. 1. They take responsibility for their life. No excuses, no blame. 2. They speak the language of growth, vision, goals, action. 3. They give and receive feedback with maturity. 4. They celebrate your wins without envy. They stay grounded in faith, not fear. These are the people who push you to level up even when it's uncomfortable. They don't let you settle. They remind you of who you are when you forget, and their very presence elevates your standard of thinking. Removing toxic influence, even if it hurts. One of the most difficult steps in building a PMA supportive environment is removing toxic people from your life, especially when those people are close friends, family, or long-term acquaintances. Hill never said this would be easy, but he was clear. Tolerance for people who waste your time is a sign that you're wasting your own. You don't have to cut people off cruelly, but you do have to protect your energy. Limit access, reduce emotional exposure, replace judgment with compassion, but prioritize your peace. Your future depends on who you listen to. And if someone is constantly feeding your doubt, belittling your dreams, or mocking your desire to grow, they are not your ally. They are an anchor. Online influence counts. 2. In Hill's time, social influence was mostly face-to-face, but today, your environment is also digital. Who are you following on social media? What content fills your feed? What podcasts, videos, or books are you consuming? Even if you live in a negative physical environment, you can create a positive digital one. Listen to mentors online, read books that speak to your spirit, watch videos that light your fire. Curate your online experience like your success depends on it, because it does. Hill would have said your input becomes your identity, so audit it ruthlessly. How to attract high-minded people. You don't attract PMA allies by chasing them. You attract them by becoming one yourself. The more you raise your energy, discipline, and clarity, the more you'll naturally draw people with similar standards into your life. Here's how. Be vocal about your goals. PMA people love clarity and vision. Show consistency. Those with real discipline respect action more than talk. Offer value first. Be the person who supports, encourages, and uplifts, and you'll magnetize those who do the same. Avoid gossip, blame, and emotional volatility. These behaviors repel strong-minded individuals. In short, become the kind of person you're looking for. Create your own inner circle. Even if you don't have high-performing friends right now, you can start building your circle of influence intentionally. Start a weekly accountability call. Join an online growth community. Attend personal development events. Reach out to mentors and ask bold questions. Don't wait for connection, create it. Hill's greatest breakthroughs came from people he surrounded himself with. Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford. They were his mastermind. Who will be yours? Energy is contagious, so is attitude. Here's the truth. Hill understood deeply. PMA is contagious, but so is NMA. You are not just affected by your circle, you are affecting it. Every time you speak with belief, act with integrity, or show resilience, you strengthen not only yourself, but those around you. You become the source of inspiration you used to seek. That's the final stage of a true PMA ally. You become a multiplier of mindset. You don't just guard your flame, you light others with it. Part 8, Turning Defeat into Fuel for PMA. There's a moment in every great life story when everything falls apart. The business fails. The relationship ends. The dream collapses. The money runs out. The world seems to turn against you. Napoleon Hill didn't just understand defeat, he studied it relentlessly. After decades of interviewing the most successful men of his time, he discovered something both surprising and empowering. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. In other words, defeat is not the end, it's the beginning. Not a punishment, but a test. Not a curse, but a challenge. One that reveals whether your positive mental attitude PMA is conditional or unbreakable. Failure is the refiner, not the rejection. Most people see failure as rejection, a sign they're not good enough, smart enough, or meant for success, but Hill saw it differently. Failure, to him, was a refiner, a fire that burns off weakness, exposes truth, and demands growth. It reveals the cracks in your character, the gaps in your preparation, and the lies you've been telling yourself. That's why he called defeat temporary, unless you accept it as permanent. He taught that success often comes just one step beyond the moment when most people give up. PMA allows you to take that one extra step. The most successful people failed the hardest. Hill didn't teach PMA from theory. He taught it from real human stories. Henry Ford failed multiple times and was ridiculed for his ideas. Thomas Edison conducted over 10,000 experiments before inventing the light bulb. Abraham Lincoln lost multiple elections before becoming president. Napoleon Hill himself was bankrupt, homeless, and nearly suicidal before writing Think and Grow Rich. What made these people legends wasn't immunity to defeat, it was their ability to turn defeat into drive. They asked different questions. Not why did this happen to me, but what am I supposed to learn? Not how can I escape this pain, but how can I grow because of it? Your response to defeat defines your future. Hill believed that your response to setbacks is far more important than the setbacks themselves, because life is not about avoiding defeat, it's about extracting value from it. Here's how most people respond to failure. 1, they personalize it. I failed, therefore I am a failure. 2, they dramatize it. Nothing ever works out for me. 3, they generalize it. If I failed once, I'll fail forever. These responses create shame, paralysis, and hopelessness, the death of PMA. But here's how PMA thinkers respond. 1, this failure is feedback. 2, this pain is my teacher. 3, this is temporary and I will grow through it. That shift in internal language is the dividing line between those who stay stuck in defeat and those who rise from it. PMA doesn't deny pain, it gives it purpose. PMA isn't about pretending failure doesn't hurt. It does. You will feel embarrassment, rejection, grief, anger, confusion. But instead of suppressing those emotions, PMA allows you to transmute them. Transmute pain into clarity. Transmute rejection into redirection. Transmute anger into momentum. Transmute loss into legacy. This is emotional alchemy, and it's only possible when you maintain a positive mental attitude in the middle of your darkest season, not just when things are going well. How to convert defeat into fuel. Hill's 3-step strategy. Hill laid out a clear mental process for transforming defeat into growth. 1. Analyze the defeat without emotion. Don't let your ego get involved. Study what happened objectively. Ask, what did I do right? What could I have done differently? What systems failed me? What beliefs limited me? This analysis turns chaos into clarity. 2. Extract the lesson and turn it into strategy. Once you find the cause, you can build a better process. Maybe your failure taught you to manage your time, choose better partners, improve your pitch, or manage your emotions. Every insight is a seed for your next level. Hill believed the greatest value of failure is that it forces you to develop a stronger strategy. 3. Make a decision to re-engage with greater energy. After analysis and adjustment comes the most important part, re-engagement. This is where most people quit. But if you're thinking like Hill, this is where you double down. With better wisdom, sharper focus, bigger hunger. Failure becomes fuel when you refuse to stop. Train your mind to expect value from pain. Hill encouraged people to practice a radical shift. Instead of fearing failure, expect it and train for it. That doesn't mean you want it, but it does mean you don't collapse when it arrives. You're mentally prepared. You know it's part of the process. Here's a practical affirmation Hill would approve of. No matter what happens, I extract value. Every loss gives me leverage. Every setback builds strength. Nothing can stop my momentum, not even failure. That's the mindset of an unbreakable achiever. Defeat reveals who you really are. You don't know your character in times of ease. You discover it in moments of collapse. When your plan fails, do you point fingers or take ownership? When you're rejected, do you shut down or sharpen your skill? When you lose everything, do you quit or rise again? Hill taught that failure is life's way of asking, how bad do you want it? Your answer comes not in what you say, but in how you show up after you fall. The real victory is internal. Sometimes the true reward of overcoming defeat isn't the money, fame, or recognition. It's who you become. A person of resilience. A person of depth. A person who can't be shaken by the storms of life. That's what Hill meant when he said PMA makes you powerful. Not because it eliminates failure, but because it transforms failure into fuel for greatness. Part 9, Daily Habits to Build an Unshakable PMA for Life. At this point, you've learned what a positive mental attitude PMA is, how it works, and how to protect it from the forces that try to tear it down. But the real question is, how do you make PMA a lifestyle? Napoleon Hill didn't believe success came from one big breakthrough or a single flash of inspiration. He taught that permanent transformation comes from daily discipline, a consistent way of living, thinking, and behaving that turns positive thinking into a state of being. PMA isn't something you visit, it's somewhere you live. And to live there, you need a system. You need habits that support the mindset even when you don't feel motivated, inspired, or emotionally strong. Here's how you build unshakable PMA for life. 1. The mental morning ritual. Hill emphasized the first hour of your day as the most important hour of your life. Why? Because it sets the emotional and mental tone for everything that follows. He recommended starting each day with a purposeful routine to align your mind with intention and positivity. Sample morning PMA routine. Read your definite major purpose statement aloud. Anchor your day with why you're here. Repeat your auto-suggestion affirmation with emotion. Rewire your subconscious. Visualize your desired outcome. Feel it, see it, believe it. Read or listen to 15 minutes of uplifting material. Fuel your mind with wisdom. Practice gratitude. List 3 things you appreciate. This activates abundance mindset. Set top 3 intentions for the day. This creates clarity and momentum. Even just 15-30 minutes of deliberate mental alignment each morning can completely shift your trajectory. 2. Evening reflection and reprogramming. What you think before sleep imprints deeply into your subconscious. Hill knew this, and that's why he advised reviewing your purpose and affirmations before bed. Evening PMA practice. Reflect on the day. What did you do well? What can be improved? Celebrate progress, not perfection. Don't let your inner critic dominate. Forgive yourself for mistakes. Release guilt, carry forward only lessons. Reread your definite purpose statement. Let it sink into your spirit. Visualize tomorrow's success. End your day on faith, not fear. This practice not only closes your day with gratitude and belief, it programs your mind to keep working on solutions while you sleep. 3. Physical habits that support PMA. Hill was adamant that the body and mind are not separate. He believed that sluggish physical habits led to sluggish thinking, and that physical vitality is essential to a positive mental state. Physical habits for mental strength. Move daily. Exercise, walk, stretch, move the energy. Sleep consistently. Fatigue creates emotional vulnerability. Hydrate and eat clean. Food affects mood. Mental clarity requires physical discipline. Control stimulants and intoxicants. What fogs your body? Fogs your thinking. A strong body reinforces a strong mind. It gives you stamina, not just physically, but emotionally. 4. Use the power of written words. Hill constantly told readers, whatever you want to internalize, write it down. Writing activates the subconscious. It turns vague intentions into precise declarations. Daily writing practices. Journaling, track your thoughts, insights, gratitude, wins, and setbacks. Rewrite your goals by hand. This keeps them alive in your nervous system. Document lessons from failure. Turn pain into permanent wisdom. Make writing a non-negotiable part of your mental hygiene. It's how you monitor and upgrade your inner world. 5. Associate with growth-minded people daily. We've covered this in part 7, but it deserves repetition because nothing affects your attitude more than the people around you. Make it a daily habit to reach out to someone who inspires you. Watch, read, or listen to mentors. Engage in conversations that fuel vision, not gossip. Even 10 minutes of high-level connection can shift your entire mental state. Don't leave it to chance, schedule it. Here's your emotional anchors. Hill understood that emotions, when harnessed, are tools, and you can build emotional anchors, quick habits, or triggers that snap you back into PMA during stress. Examples. A power phrase: I was made for this. A breathing pattern: 3 deep breaths before responding. A physical gesture: hand over heart while repeating your affirmation. A mental image: visualize a past win or a future victory. These anchors create instant mental recovery even in moments of chaos. 7. Practice daily service. One of Hill's most overlooked teachings is the power of serving others to strengthen your own mindset. He taught, you can't lift another without also lifting yourself. PMA becomes deeper, more grounded, and more sincere when it's not just about personal gain, but about impact. Each day, ask, how can I add value today? Who can I encourage? What skill can I share? Service builds self-respect. It kills self-pity, and it roots PMA in purpose, not ego. 8. Feed your mind like a garden. We discussed this in part 2, but repetition is reinforcement. PMA is not built in isolation. It's built by daily exposure to powerful thoughts. Make it your habit to protect your attention like your life depends on it. Daily mental diet musts. Limit toxic input. News, gossip, negativity starve it. Consume one idea-rich source per day. Read, listen, or watch content that expands you. Speak powerful language. Say what you want, not what you fear. The world will constantly try to pull you into mediocrity. Your mental diet is your shield. 9. Review and adjust weekly. Even with strong daily habits, reflection is key. Once a week, do a personal review. Ask yourself, did I protect my PMA this week? What drained my energy or triggered negativity? What gave me life, clarity, and strength? What needs to change next week? This weekly checkpoint keeps you aligned, focused, and honest with yourself. 10. Commit no matter what. PMA isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's a lifestyle built on commitment, not comfort. Some days you won't feel strong. Some days doubt will return. Some days life will hit hard. But none of that matters if you decide that your attitude is non-negotiable. Hill wrote, persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. Likewise, consistency is to PMA as oxygen is to fire. Feed it, fuel it, protect it, and it will carry you through anything. Final reflection. If you followed Hill's path this far, you now understand what most never will. Success is not found in external achievement, it's built inside your mind. PMA is not an event. It's a way of thinking, believing, speaking, acting, and living. And with the right daily habits, that mindset becomes your identity strong, unshakable, and ready for anything life throws at you. Your next move. Begin today, don't wait. Pick just one habit from this list and implement it for the next 7 days. Watch what changes not outside but within, because that's where everything begins. If you're ready to stop reacting to life and start creating it, begin with your attitude. The power is already within you. Napoleon Hill gave us the blueprint, now it's your turn to live it. If this video helped, like and subscribe. And remember, your mind is the gateway to everything.